slide, I think it's very important to make, to just the gentleman's point, about what have we spent our money on. You're mentioning restoration, okay? We have restoration as part of our project. We have spent no dollars on the restoration. All of the dollars have come from other funds. That's because we've prioritized our dollars to go to things like the bridges, the North Truckee Drain, levees. Even this one project, Lockwood, our dollars are very small in comparison to the dollars being put in for others. So I hear you. Our reason for being is flood management, but flood management is no longer a traditional set of levees and flood walls. We have learned that restoring the river is important to mitigate the impacts. And I'll give you an example. Or maybe I should turn it over to you, Paul. I mean, you're the project manager. You've been with it the longest.
Okay. As Naomi mentioned at the beginning, one of the things that was done and thought to be a real state-of-the-art flood control back in the late 1950s and 1960s was dredging and clearing the channel and straightening up the channel and lowering the vista reefs. And that was completed in the spring of 1963. And in the fall of 1963, we had another major flood that caused about the same area to flood as the flood of 1955. So obviously things didn't work quite as planned there, and what has happened is we've had deterioration of the river, and as that river deteriorates, we are now causing more erosion, causing degraded water quality, and we're losing riparian habitat because of that mistake in the 1960s. So we want to make sure that we don't cause further damage to the river and also repair some of the past damage.
First of all, the water that comes into Reno is coming from upstream. It hits Reno, and you mentioned 15,000 cubic feet per second. The problem is, and Paul spent 10 years on this project, they tried everything to look about, could we store more of that water upstream before it ever hit us? And they looked in every hill and dale. They were not able to find, as good engineers as they are, additional storage places. One option that we do have, though, is as part of our project, we do plan to work with the Corps of Engineers and others on the Truckee River Operating Agreement, which has a component that deals with storage, and talk about how is water stored upstream. Are they doing it the best that they can do? Right now it's maxed out and it's in stone. But we do plan to go and have those conversations. The other issue you brought up was about building in the floodplain. One of the things that our board has taken a leadership role on is actually recommending the enactment of tougher ordinances so that what remaining floodplain we do have does not continue to be developed. We're not building something, it's not showy, it's a regulation, but the regulation has been put in place by Reno and Washoe County already. They are in the process of amending the regulation to make it stricter so that if you build, the regulation already says if you build something in the floodplain, you put fill in the floodplain, you have to excavate a like amount of fill out of the floodplain. So at the end of the day, there's no change in flooding. The counties and the cities are planning to go a step further. Not only do that, but you have to do the mitigation close to the place where it occurs and at the same height. So really we make sure it works. So I hope I've addressed a few of your questions. They're very important points, and we've spent a lot of time ourselves. What else can we do upstream? I think the terracing was a very ingenious solution. It's basically creating additional storage in our river by cutting away the bank. So it's not so steep as it was. It's laid back like a floodplain's supposed to. And within that area, we get to store additional water. That's a very good, effective, creative solution.